Good morning. My name is Reverend Kylie Renner, and on behalf of the entire One Spiritual Center community, I want to welcome you here this morning. You brave ones who are here in person, because if you're not in Albuquerque, you would know that while it is much nicer than it was last week, it is still quite chilly. We have quite a significant breeze happening that keeps changing directions this morning. So we're going to try and stay warm, and so grateful to be back with the band this week. If you caught us last week, yeah, we missed you guys. It was certainly awkward in my living room by myself, talking to myself. So great to be together again and to have music, live music. I can't tell you how meaningful and important that is. So here we are, and thank you for being here. And I just want to mention that even though it feels like spring is far off, I keep getting reminders that we're right on the verge of this new season. And so I've got a bunch of new bulbs sticking their heads out this week after the snow melted. And there's just something about this time where where things are starting to emerge, and it's not here yet, and there's such a power in this time of planning what comes next. So thank you for bringing your love into this space. We're sending love to our neighbors in Texas who I know some of my friends and people who watch us online are still without power, so we will see you when you're back with power, hopefully very, very soon. And just sending love today to everyone who's cold. So thank you for being here. We're going to start with some prayer. So if you're comfortable closing your eyes, I just invite you to bring yourself present to what it feels like to be alive today with all of that which is moving in and around us. And I just recognize the power and the presence of the One as it moves us today. It drew us together in community and is guiding us as we open ourselves to whatever it is that we need to hear and feel and know today. And so I just know that truly we are blessed to be together, that the love that is at the center of who and what we are has drawn us into community, whether that community is via the internet or here in person. I just recognize that love connecting us and pulling us together as we remember and remind one another of that bigger vision. And so I just recognize the power of this moment, the emergence of new life. And I just let go into that today, and I let it be. And so it is. So my notes already flew away once this morning, so we're going to try and see if we can keep all of the things in the right places this morning. So I've chosen a poem by Sarah Classen to lead us into our meditation this morning. It's entitled Waging Peace, and it starts with a quote from Isaiah. How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of the messenger who announces peace. I'm actually missing most of the poem. So, we're going to read part of the poem. The best part, yes. We're going to look for it real quick with gloves, with hair in my mouth. Nope, we're just going to read part of it. Not something separate, not a convenient screen, a wall hastily fabricated to keep conflicts blaze contained or self-safe, nor something hammered out at tables, and never sentimental, say a moonlight evening, an incandescent sky, the Pacific Ocean on a breathless day. You might as well wage peace as war. You have to stand exposed at the crossroads of unguarded anger, a presence, not an absence, not gritting your teeth, forcing your clenched hands open, your heart's hard core and everything the stubborn mind conceals revealed. Disarmed, you may be disarming, the terror in your unmasked face radiant, your unshod, wounded feet beautiful beyond words. So we just take the energy of this poem inviting us to wage peace as we would wage war. And we take that energy into our meditation this morning.
here's something about Chick Corea. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Now go find a place to stay warm. Brr. Ah. So I'm glad I'm speaking on something that I don't really need notes on today, because I don't know how that's going to work. If I try and move them, they blow away. So What I want to talk about today is a subject that's near and dear to my heart, and I find it so interesting that we as human beings are so bad at it. And so this topic is conflict. And it's so strange to me that something so important and necessary for all change and growth is something that we as humans are so terrible at. We either avoid it at all costs or run straight into it all of the time in every direction in order to not ever have to deal with what's really going on. And I'm finding it so interesting right now, especially because I'm usually the one in my family that's immersed in this topic or in this idea about how we handle conflict. But I've been watching other people around me recently have to deal with that, and it's really interesting, especially with this ongoing conversation I'm having with several people in my life about how do we really move forward as communities, as a country, when it seems like that there's so far between us. Like, how do we get there? And so one of the things that I've been thinking about recently from the perspective of conflict and spirituality is the idea that so many of us think that the way we create peace is by not saying anything. That the way we create peace is by being the one that says, oh, we can just let it be. And what I realize is that's the exact opposite of what it actually creates peace. We think that what creates peace is ignoring it or letting it slip by or trying not to let it bother us. But what really actually creates peace is the tension that is created and the healing that happens when we actually speak. And when we actually say what is real, and when we actually allow ourselves to stand for what we know is possible. And so I have to tell this story because I was so amused by my own reaction and amused by my initial response. So someone in my life who, in a professional capacity, did something not like they should have a few years ago. And who probably should have had repercussions at the time, but I didn't pursue that, recently got in touch with me out of nowhere, without anything, hey, it's been a lot of years, what's going on? They instead said, hey, I have this thing I want you to buy from me. And my initial response was to one, oh, I can just ignore this, right? Like, I should just ignore this. This is the appropriate response. Pretend that this didn't happen. And then my second response was like, well, I could just say, thanks for thinking of me, but no thank you. And I sat with it because it was really like stirring in me. And instead, I spoke a truth that needed to be spoken about what had happened all those years ago. And it felt so damn good, I have to tell you. That was what created peace, right? It didn't create peace to ignore it, and it didn't create peace to pretend it didn't happen, and it didn't create peace to be treated like someone's piggy bank that is they wanted me to buy something from them now that, enough time had elapsed that I should have forgotten about what happened. And I think that this is really important because accountability is part of what makes conflict really change, right? Those situations where the healing really has to happen. Accountability and the truth matters. And I think we as a country, as we watch ourselves figure out how to untangle this, have to realize that accountability is absolutely part of that process. That the tension that is necessary, that conflict, that push and pull that conflict creates is necessary for change. And in order for that change to be real, there has to be truth behind it. There has to be truth included in it. Otherwise, it's just making compromises so that we can get on to the next thing. And I just realized that the part of why we're so bad at conflict is that most of us have been unwilling to look at what's really going on beneath the surface of the things that are causing us to feel rumbled up about inside, right? Like, we don't want to look at that. We'd rather get all up in arms about this, the thing that we think it's about, instead of actually dealing with what was going on inside. And so that was what was so powerful for me, is that all of these years later, from this place of deep peace and power inside of me, I got to speak the truth to that place of healing inside of me. And maybe I couldn't do that all those years ago, but I could from this place. And I think that that's a really important thing for us as we figure out how to navigate our own pathways through really speaking our truth into the world about what we believe is possible, that we find this place inside of us that is that place of healed power, and we're able to speak what the truth about what really happens and hold ourselves and each other accountable from that space. And I just recognize that if we're going to really start to speak peace into the world, we have to get over the idea that means not speaking at all, or only speaking that which is comfortable or easy, or speaking that which we think that other people are going to like, or make people like us because of it. That's not what creates peace. That is not the actual essence of what's necessary. And so all these years ago, I was thinking back to this interview that I was listening to of a quantum physicist who was talking about healing. So it's always interesting when that happens, when people want to take something like quantum physics and apply it to something like physical healing. But one of the things that this interview mentioned that I found so powerful was this idea that it was really important that there be a tension between a doctor and that person or the thing that needed to be healed, and that tension itself created a dynamic that pushed the healing forward. That movement that is between what we know is possible and what is yet to be, that tension between those two things is actually an important and essential part of healing. And so when I think about that from the perspective of interpersonal relationships or spiritual growth, I realize that there's this space inside of us that requires this tension to be present in our lives in a way that we don't allow it to be. We try and brush things over. We try and put lipstick on the pig. We try and arrange things in a certain way so we don't have to look at things. We try and sweep it under the carpet. And all of those things do is keep us actually from the real tension and the power of what could be possible in our lives if we were willing to stop avoiding and making it so much worse, our unwillingness to actually deal with how we can bring these submerged things in our lives to the surface so that we can actually heal and transform them. And there is so much submerged in all of us, right? And there's so much submerged in the collective. It's so vital that we be willing to stop getting stuck on the thing that feels like the latest outrage, right? And actually move into the real and powerful issues that we need to be speaking peace about. And I think that this is one of the interesting pieces about being here on this planet right now, is that I think we have to get good at this. That those of us who know that we can do better, that we can do better for the planet, that we can do better for each other, that we can do better at providing electricity, that we can do better at all kinds of things, that we have to get really good at being willing to bring the submerged issues to the surface and be willing to speak peace to them, which does not mean just saying the nice things. It means speaking the truth from that place inside of us that knows and demands and declares that something else is possible. That we don't have to keep on doing this the way we've always done it just because that's the way it is. And I realize that it feels on some level so much safer to do that, because then we don't have to deal with what shows up when it feels like someone doesn't like us, or those guard dogs that come out when we get close to something, and then all of a sudden people are calling us names or deciding things that they think about us and have no problem telling us, right? And we feel so much safer to work on the center of things and act like that's where the healing happens, but it doesn't. So I love this quote, if I can find it here. My fingers are cold. I can barely feel them. So this is a Leslie Charles quote that says, "Of course I'm yelling. That's because I'm wrong." And I realize so much of how we deal with conflict and how we deal with that tension in our lives is by yelling at it, and literally or metaphorically, right? And the louder we yell, the deeper we get entrenched in positions and ideas that we have about things that we often stop being able to even hear ourselves and our wisdom. And so what I realized about getting good at speaking peace and what is necessary during this time is this sense in which we are willing to stop yelling so that we can start really hearing. And this is so interesting because I'm not really talking about like we need to hear other people's perspectives or anything like that. I'm talking about the kind of hearing that allows us to hear that which is submerged underneath the surface of things, the thing that needs to be brought to light because it is our teacher, and the thing that we didn't want to see, but it needs to be known that this tension is bringing up in us, and we have to be willing to listen to that, which means we have to let go of a lot of the ways that we've done this in the past, and we have to get really good at being able to separate ourselves away from the strangeness of how most people react, and really open ourselves to the fact that there is another way. So Robert Frost says that the only way out is through. The only way out is through. And I know that for me, from the sense of speaking true peace into the world and speaking the peace that we know is possible, that is really necessary for us to move through even that which is most uncomfortable, and build a new framework about what we are willing and how we are willing to step into speaking what really needs to be spoken. And so I want to give you an invitation into this in this kind of gentle way, because I recognize even in myself when I get close to needing to speak, there's a lot that comes up. There's a lot that is submerged around all of it. And that one of the most powerful gifts we can give ourselves is the permission to not necessarily be graceful at it, right? That speaking peace doesn't mean that we're eloquent. It doesn't mean that it sounds pretty or polished, or that it even feels complete. This kind of speaking peace is a process and an evolution and a creation. It isn't something static. And that when we really open ourselves to be willing to be the space for that to happen, there's all kinds of things that start to show up, and so much deeper peace. And I have to tell you, I've been having some intense dreams. I don't know if anyone else has been experiencing this, but for probably the last 6 months, I actually have to wake myself up several times a night because I have to be like, hey, wait a minute. I don't want to be working that hard right now. I don't want to be doing this work in my sleep, like this deep spiritual work. And so I had this dream this week that I woke myself up from so I could actually write it down, because I was like, whoa, this is weird. So I was having this conversation. My mom was there. Hi, Mom. And there were a few other people, and we were talking about like this kind of peace that came from somewhere else inside of ourselves. And And I remember that I used the analogy that we are all kind of like batteries, and that we needed both the polarity, the positive and the negative, and the tension between those things. That is what makes a battery work. We needed both of those aspects in order to be able to light things up. And so in my dream, I was talking about that the piece that was there was the recognition that those two things were necessary. That in order for things to be lit up, I couldn't just focus on one polarity. That in fact there had to be a relationship between the two. And it was a really funny dream to wake up from, because I was like, where the hell did that come from? But what I recognize is there was something there, right? Like, it feels really real, like that we as whole human beings have to be able to access those polarities and to realize that the tension between them, the draw that moves between them, is that which actually lights things up, that creates power, that moves currents and energies and changes things. And that we have to get really good at being willing to let that polarity move through us, so that something new can emerge. And so as we practice this and we're gentle with ourselves, I just recognize that there's always that part of ourselves that wants to run away right at the last minute, or once we've stuck our foot in it, or our foot in our mouth, or whatever we think we did. That we want to judge ourselves for that. But what I also know is that if we are unwilling to be really bad at speaking peace, then we never get really good at it. And in a world where so few people are willing to actually speak peace into the world, that we have to be willing to practice in order to create a space where we get good at it. And so I'm freezing, and I love you. And we're going to pray. Because I'm talking really fast, because I'm really cold. And we're going to sing into our prayer. So I'm guessing that there's maybe at least one situation in your life where you're experiencing something that needs to be spoken peace to. Maybe your life is perfect. Or seems like that because you've been avoiding it, whatever that is. But I'm going to invite you to see if, by opening to prayer, if we're able to move some energy, create a dynamic that recognizes the polarity and the power there, the necessity of speaking peace and truth with clarity and compassion. And we'll just see what prayer does today. Join me as we pray, sing into our prayer.
Lifts us high, it heals us, it sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high, it heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high, it heals us, sustains us, sets us free.
And so our prayer of love today is a prayer of deep and abiding peace. It is a prayer of recognizing that our role here on this planet is to do the work of love, which requires us to speak the truth even when it is uncomfortable, especially when it is uncomfortable. As we open ourselves to the recognition that speaking peace means speaking the truth, and that the creative power of the universe is unleashed when we are willing to no longer avoid or deny, and are able to declare that which we know is possible and speak to the tension between that which is and that which can be. And I just recognize that pull inside of each and every one of us, that is the pull that knows that we can live in a world that truly works for everyone, that pull that pulls us toward our capacity to heal and transform on this deeper level than ever before. I just recognize that it is operating today, right here and right now, in us in a bigger way, because of our willingness to take a risk, to speak peace, even when we don't think we know how, when we feel like we don't have the words yet. And we allow ourselves to come from that place of healing and transformation inside of ourselves, and allow that wisdom to operate so that we may more powerfully create, so that we may light up with possibility. And I just know that peace and power and wisdom are available right here and now. And we just lean into that. And we let it be. And so it is.
A prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Okay. This is a tune called Voyage by Kenny Barron, who's an amazing piano player. Not so fast, because I can't play my cold hands.
Yes, the music sounded so warm. Oh, thank you guys. So I'm going to keep announcements brief for the end of service here, but I want to thank everyone for your continued love and support, the brave ones who keep coming up out in person. And those of you who are watching us online, I hope we can all be together in person very soon, and we'll see how all of that unfolds this year. But we appreciate your continued love and support. And so there's baskets hanging from the trees, or there's also a place on our website where you can make a donation. I'll also drop the PayPal link in our comments. So if you'd like to give in that way, you can do so as well. I know some people have an issue with the link on our website, so for whatever reason. And I also have a reminder and a special one, which is that next week is actually our 3rd anniversary. One is turning 3 next week. So hopefully the weather will cooperate with us and we can have a big old party out here next week. So please, we're looking forward to that. So join us if you can. And thank you for being here wherever you are today. Let us sing.
Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. People get ready for the train to come. One love, ain't no begging, just get on. One high, that diesel humming. One love, ain't no tickets, just thank the Lord.
And we have one last blessing to sing to one another.